What's up, folks?
Yeah.
We hope you are doing great. Welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Mark and Jen.
Let's go.
We're here to
Let's
help
go.
your Christian marriage thrive.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, though, this has been out for a couple months.
Yeah.
This book, The Marriage Cheat Codes, Everyday Tools to Make Marriage Easy.
Yeah.
If you've not ordered a copy or three, we want to know why. Why? It's available on Amazon in paperback or ebook format. You need to get the copy of that book.
Yeah.
Help your marriage. Even if you're single, this is good. We have singles that have purchased this book and they've been saying it's wonderful. It's helping them prepare for marriage. So marriage tools are in here, which means that it's great for the married or the soon to be married. So if you're engaged, or the want to be married. So even if you're not currently seeing anybody or you're not engaged, still need to pick up a copy of that book.
Yeah.
All right. All right. But today's topic is, I think, a hot topic.
I'm so excited.
We just finished, we're all about marriage. So because of that, we like to read books on marriage.
Yeah.
We like to watch dating shows and relationship shows and just see what other people are doing and what they're thinking. And we came across this documentary on Netflix called Ashley Madison. And that documentary, we have never.
This is wild. This is wild.
But we had never even heard of this.
No.
And I guess it's because we're not messy people. Because Ashley Madison, as a company, was messy. Or should I say is messy, because they're like
still around.
Yeah. So if you don't know what Ashley Madison is, you can watch the documentary on Netflix. We're going to discuss it today. But in a nutshell, it's basically a dating service. But here's the problem with this dating service. It's a dating service for married people who want to cheat.
This is wild.
And they first launched in the United States and ended up building a global
multi-million-dollar
empire.
I mean,
Men and women from around the world, literally around the world, who wanted to cheat. And they said that their service was designed to help protect your identity. So they said they had all these safety features in place so that your number couldn't be discovered, your real name wouldn't be discovered. People were using aliases. And lo and behold, somebody who this rubbed the wrong way hacked their system.
Yeah.
And all of the names
were leaked.
Yeah. And this thing literally destroyed marriages.
Yeah.
Relationships. I mean, it was a mess. So that's what we're talking about today. It's bananas.
It's going to be good. And, there's so much to unpack with this whole Ashley Madison website and community. But I just want to start with their slogan. Okay? Their slogan is, life is short, period. Have an affair.
That is wild. Like, not having an affair. Having an affair is insane.
They're like, life is short, have an affair. So their whole slogan and mantra is appealing to the person that is married who is feeling like they're missing out on something.
Right.
So it's just geared to that husband, that wife who feels like, you know what, I'm missing out on life.
Yeah.
And there's something else I should be experiencing. So because life is short, I should have an affair. That somehow being monogamous with your spouse is losing or leaving something on the table in life, and you're not having fun, and you're not living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
So you should just have an affair, because having an affair would be exploring all of your desires. Having an affair would be living life to the full. So, you know what? Marriage is boring. What they're saying is marriage is too vanilla. It's too plain. And it's not engaging, not fun enough. So you should have an affair. And I have a problem with that, because in essence, they're trying to really appeal and continue this notion that is false.
Yeah.
That makes people feel like when they get married, they're going to lose.
You're right.
When they get married, it's not something that's better. It's shackles, it's being locked down, it's, responsibility, it's all these things that are going to keep you from actually enjoying life.
Right.
And I got a big problem with that.
Yeah, and I think that, so what's ironic to me is the person who founded this organization is also a married man. Now, it's found throughout the documentary that when he first was going public with the organization, he was telling everybody that he was in a monogamous relationship. It's
Right.
just that he knows some people can't be.
Right.
So, and Mark and I called the nonsense on that.
From day one.
From minute 5
Yeah.
of the documentary. We're like, no man who believes in monogamy launches that type of a website.
Thank you.
By the end of the documentary, well, we find that he's not.
Yeah,
But my
and
point
she's
is,
done for believing that.
well, okay. But what I was going to say is that my question to people like the founder of this website, or my question to people who use this website, because they interviewed some people were willing to be interviewed who had used the website. And one guy even said, I registered for an account, but I had no interest in leaving my wife. I had no interest in being a divorcee.
Right.
I had no interest in, living.
Losing my family.
Yeah. And so I'm like, so then what is the point of marriage if you're like, I want to be married, but I don't want to be monogamous? I want to ask those people, what is the point then of marriage? Because the beauty of marriage is actually the fact that the way God designed it is that if you put in the work, you can actually find joy and happiness with the same person until death do you part.
Yeah.
That's actually what's beautiful about marriage. It is actually a trick of the enemy to make people feel that marriage is boring, that marriage is just blah, that marriage is not exciting, that marriage after a while can no longer be fun. That's actually a trick of the enemy.
Yeah.
Because God's design, here's my thing. If God designed marriage to last until death do you part, then that means he already built in ways for you to keep it fun and enjoyable until that time. God will never ask you to do something that is unconscionable and unreasonable.
Right.
It may
And
not be
outside of
easy.
your power to do.
Correct.
Outside of your ability to do.
Correct. Even if it's not easy, it's not impossible.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily hard.
No, but I'm just saying.
And hard, but what I mean by that, I'm putting more, not weight to it, but explanation to what you're saying is that when I say it's not hard, it means that it comes with responsibility, but God doesn't ask you to do something that it shouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
It should be within your power. And so when you're talking about these people that, cheat on their spouse and all that stuff, when somebody that wants to cheat but wants to keep their marriage,
right.
Basically that person wants the perks of marriage, but they don't want the responsibility of marriage.
That's good.
You want all the perks of having a family, the stability and the security, but you don't want the responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah, so you want the support of that comes along with having a good spouse, because they're going to support you. You can do life together. You want the ability to tackle a business idea with two people, tackle raising kids with two people. So I like how you put that. You want the perks of marriage, but not the responsibility of marriage. And you can't have one without the other if you're going to be successfully married.
You can't have one without the other. And I think that what this also highlighted and brought to the surface was that you have a lot of people that are married, but secretly are desiring something else.
Wow.
Like there's a level of unsatisfaction and unfulfillment in marriages today that secretly they've been thinking about this. And now that there's an opportunity through a website called Ashley Madison, they're like, hey, I've been thinking about what it would be like to be with someone else. I've been feeling like I'm not fulfilled. And now here's the door I can actually walk
Well,
through and do it in a way where I won't be found out.
well, maybe we should just cancel cable and internet subscriptions then. 'Cause I just feel like, do people without cable and internet go through these same issues? No. Because they
What do you
have
mean by that?
There's just too much access to too many different ideas when you have cable and internet. So cancel your Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix don't at me, but I'm being facetious, a little facetious here, but I'm like, just throw the whole cable and internet packages away, because I feel like, even though there's nothing new under the sun, in our grandparents' time where there was no easy access to things, even like cheating, like you had to go a while. I feel like in our grandparents, when our grandparents were our age and
Yeah.
younger, you literally had to go a while to like go get a dirty magazine.
Yeah.
There was no internet because there was not even any computer. Not everyone had a TV.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that these things don't have their place in the world, but it's amazing how people also get ideas in their head when things can be easily accessed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that back then there were more barriers to it, but it shows the inherent nature of humans,
Yeah.
and in terms of flesh, in terms of sin. And when we don't have proper parameters and control around our lives. So in any society, in any generation, you can fall into these traps when there is no control, right? And so it was harder in our grandparents' day
Yeah.
to actually cross the line, but it's easier if you're out of control. And it's amazing how in our day and time we have to have even more control built into our relationships, built into our marriages.
Yeah.
And one of the things about marriage that makes it special, what people actually miss, is that marriage inherently produces self-control. Because what God is trying to do when he institutes marriage is he says, Adam, you can only have one.
Right.
Eve, you can only have one. It's the
Right.
same principle that he implored in the Garden of Eden. He says, you can eat of every tree, but you can't touch this particular tree. Why did he do that? Why didn't he just allow them to eat of every tree? It's because he was starting the process of control.
Yeah.
That if I allow you to be a human without control, you will wreck yourself. You will kill everything around you.
Right.
Because you have no self-control. And so when God says you're going to have to be married to someone, and that's the only person you're going to be devoted to and with, he's saying, you may want something else, but you can't have it.
Right.
You can't have it. Why? Because if I don't put control on you, if I don't put parameters and restraints on your life, you're going to fall off the rails.
Yeah.
Everything has control. A train cannot ride down and make it ride down the tracks or make it from point A to point B if it's not on the rails.
Right.
And I think people want life off the rails. So you want to be married, but then you want something on the side too. But you know what? I want life to be great.
But even
How is that possible?
even the world says you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Correct.
Now, what's funny is I saw somebody online say that the original phrase is that you can't have your cake and eateth too,
No,
and that
that's
black people
incorrect.
changed it to cake and eat it.
It's incorrect.
And so I know that's incorrect, but it actually works here. You can't have cake and eateth too.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
Yeah, that works.
That isn't the actual phrase. It is really you can't have your cake and eat it too, which is frustrating because it's like if you're going to buy me a cake, why wouldn't I eat it?
Right. But we always go through this. We
just
always
don't
go
like how
through
they
this.
worded
The
it.
phrase works. You can't have your cake, meaning it
I know
can't be
it.
there. Once you eat it, it's
Y'all,
gone.
I know what it means.
It's gone. So you can't have it
I know.
and eat it.
I know, y'all. I just hate that.
I know we always go through, but I
But
love,
he knows that I know what it means.
of course,
He just explained it anyway. But when the person was like, "Black people always messing stuff
right.
up," the original phrase is, "You can't have your Kate and Edith too." I'm like, that's not true, but it works here. You
It
cannot
works.
have Kate and Edith too. You need to choose Kate or Edith. In other words, you cannot have your marriage and your side piece too.
Can't have your marriage and your side piece. So Ashley Madison is saying you can have your marriage and something on the side,
Oof.
and it won't come back to bite you.
But there was, unfortunately, and on social media they block certain words now, so I'm going to say this strategically, but there was loss of life as a result of this. That's how serious it got for some people.
Yeah.
But the Bible says that the wages of sin
Yeah.
is the opposite of being alive, because I don't want YouTube to block my.
No, you could say death,
Okay.
but the other one, I understand why you didn't say
Yeah.
the other word, but it was unconscionable to me when within the first 5 minutes that somebody started this website and they thought that this was gonna work and there would be no repercussions from this. I'm like, this is so bad. This goes against just the grain of morality,
Yeah.
to the extent that if you develop a website that allows married folk to cheat, oh, how is that not going to
Yeah, because
blow
the
up?
other thing about dating websites is that their dating websites, the intent is, from what I've ever heard of, the intent is for singles to meet. So it is so diabolical
Right.
to create a dating website where you intend for married people to cheat. That is so diabolical. And Mark, there's so many layers to this, because you really have to be spiritually in tune to see all of the hidden layers in this.
Right.
Because what they said in the documentary was that somebody who used to work for Ashley Madison said that he knew that the site wasn't really secure. So they were telling people that, he said the certificates that they had on the bottom of their screen were just basically photoshopped
Yeah.
and put on the website. He was like, I was on the inside. He was like, I worked for them for pretty much their entire time
Yeah.
of initial operation. And he said, I knew, and some of us knew, the site wasn't secure.
Yep.
We were telling people it was secure because that was the only way we could sell this.
Right.
And he's like, so when we went on for so many years, we felt like, wow, this is great. But that's why they were able to get hacked. Because there's websites that are secure that unfortunately sometimes succumb to hackers, because some hackers are so intelligent. They know how to get through all different types of hardware and firewalls. But this site wasn't even secure. So what am I saying? The layers to this is that this is how the enemy works. He will allow you to continue in your sin for just long enough for you to think, man, I'm actually getting away with it. And then boom, before you realize it, here comes the exposure.
There's no way to secure this enough. You can't secure an
You can't
affair.
secure sin.
You can't.
Oh, I thought he was going to turn his head on that one.
I've been turning my head this whole episode.
Oh.
So I'm like, people gonna wonder what's over there because I keep turning over there.
Yeah.
But there's no security that can protect an affair, because at some point the truth is gonna come to light. And so even if they promoted the best security system, online security system in the world, somehow sin is going to seep in
exactly.
and break it down, and you're going to be caught. You're going to be in
Exactly.
trouble, because that is how sin works.
Yes.
And-
And here's what's also scary about sin.
Yeah.
Let's just say you get away with sin for as long as you're alive. You won't get away with it when you pass away.
No, it'll
You'll
come out.
like,
We've heard
at
about that.
some point, sin will,
Even in your death, it'll ruin your legacy.
and it'll ruin where you spend eternity if you haven't repented and
Right.
been.
Right.
It's like, but this song comes to my head, when you were talking about this whole aspect of like cheating through a website and think you're going to cover up a sin. That old song, like, this train don't carry no liars, this train.
Yeah.
This train don't carry no liars, this train This train don't carry no liars, no backbiters, no backsliders. This train don't carry no liars. This train.
I know the song.
Right, so if you're lying, you're not getting on this train. You getting on a train, but you ain't getting on this train. The highway to heaven train, you're not getting on that train.
But where do you come up with these songs, though?
I didn't write the song.
No.
Our
but where do you
forefathers
come
wrote
up
the
with
song.
these songs?
I don't come up with them. My
No.
forefathers came up with them.
But you come up with them in the moment.
Because they are applicable.
Right, but how does your brain go there?
That's how God wired
That's
me.
the song you pull?
Yeah. Because I want people to get off the wrong train. It's
That's
not
what-
that you're
that's
not. It's not that you're not on a train. You're not on this train. And I just want people to get on the healthy marriage train. Okay. And the healthy marriage train don't carry no liars, no backbiters, no backsliders.
Absolutely.
So.
But here's my other thing is that with this website, Ashley Madison, it came out in the documentary that they had to create fake female profiles because number one, if you were a man,
Yeah.
you had to pay for the site. Okay?
Right.
So you created your profile, then you paid to use the site. You paid to send messages. If you were a female, you got it for free. So what they're basically saying is that we want to open the door as wide as possible for females. Why? Because we know more men are going to come here to this site than females. So we need to make it easier for females to come to this site.
Well,
Then on top of that, they created fake female profiles because they didn't have enough female profiles for the amount of men that were signing up.
Yep.
And then they use robots to communicate with the men. And it shows the heart of a man.
Yeah.
And the Bible says the heart of a man is desperately wicked, right? Mm-hmm. And now that's talking about humans.
Right.
However, we see the sinful nature of a man and how men are bent and slanted towards certain sins in a way that women aren't.
Yes, that's very true. But it goes to what you and I've discussed before when you were saying that the reason why it takes longer, if ever, for a woman to cheat is because for a woman, no matter who she's with, she has to have that emotional connection for the most part.
Yeah.
And you were saying men, for the most part, don't need that. Like, they can lie with you and have no emotions towards you. You're just available, so they're fine.
Right.
So I believe, Mark, there's truth to when you would always say that. I believe there's truth to that because Ashley Madison ran into the problem you just said. Initially, they could not get women to register for this account because I think for a woman, even if she is unhappy in her marriage, it still takes a lot for her to be like, let me just go find a random guy and cheat. Whereas for a guy, unfortunately, a guy is much more likely and it's more easier for him, for the most part, to be like, let me just go find an outlet in another female.
Right.
Most women...
Yeah, and this is why I hate the idea that men and women are the same. So, because we don't have the same nature, we can't be we can't be, I would say, I don't want to use that word. I would just say the way that we are used in society or the way that we are shaped in society has to be different because we're the same. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say the rules for a man and the rules for a woman have to be different given our different natures. Mm-hmm. So when we say men have certain tendencies, so we should guard ourselves against the tendencies of a man. That's just wisdom, that's just experience, and that's just knowledge as it relates to the nature of a man. That a man is prone towards sexual sin in a way that a woman isn't. Is that the case for every man?
Right.
Every woman? No, that's not what we're trying to say.
Right.
But statistics will absolutely show you that. Mm-hmm. So a man has to guard himself as it relates to sexual sin, for the most part, in a way that a woman doesn't have to because she's built differently.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying that. I hear it a lot as a man in leadership. People will be like, when you have certain encounters with a woman, you shouldn't have to be careful because, you should be strong as a man and you should know your parameters. And yeah, while that may be true, a man should guard himself
Right.
differently than a woman would have to guard themselves in that situation. So some men will say, you know what? I'm not going to be caught out here in certain environments with a woman.
Right.
Why? Because he has a certain nature. And I think we need to stop bringing or putting men and women on the same playing field as it relates to certain sins. Because it's showing up in so many sectors of society.
Yeah.
That, hey, there's a little difference here.
Yeah.
Like a woman wants to step out, a woman wants to be wild. Yeah, we understand that. But on a whole, they had to create all these fake profiles for a reason.
It's almost like when they say that though both genders can be guilty of abuse, typically and statistically, men are the ones to offend. And I think it's because, I don't even think it's because of the number of cases that go unreported. I do think men do offend and abuse at a higher rate. I think those statistics are accurate. What may be inaccurate is the number of reports, because victims are often finding it tough to come forward. But I think those numbers are accurate. So again, we're not saying women don't abuse or offend, but statistically, men abuse and offend at a higher rate. And I think it's because men were always wired to, conquer, to overcome, to overtake. It's just that in the cases of predatory behavior, those men have twisted that wiring, that hard wiring in them to conquer, to overtake something. They've twisted what it's supposed to be used for, because it's never supposed to be used against another human being.
Right.
But God did need men to have that wiring so that they could provide for families well, so that they could lead well, so that they could stand in their God-given authority well.
Yeah.
So I think it's not that men are wired incorrectly. It's just that a lot of men haven't learned how to take that wiring that God has given them and use it in a healthy way.
So God wired us to be very sexual inherently, because he said that you should have dominion, be fruitful, and replenish the earth.
Right.
So he built a reproductive drive in us, because his goal was to populate the earth. And if our sexual drive was low, then the world would not advance as fast as it's advancing. It's his will that the world would advance at this rate. If he wanted it to populate slower, then he would have reduced our drive. But he was smart enough not to give the man and the woman the same level of sexual drive, or else it would drive the world would implode over sexual sin. It's gonna implode eventually, but it would implode a lot faster, and we wouldn't be able to handle the level of sexuality in the world. We can barely handle it now.
Yeah.
And so he did it for a reason. And I just want to continue to highlight how important it is for men and women to have control. To have control. You cannot have that. It doesn't belong to you.
There it is.
You cannot be with her. You're married.
Right.
It doesn't matter what your flesh wants. It really is irrelevant.
Exactly.
It really is irrelevant what your flesh wants, what you struggle with, and what you fail to communicate to your spouse. That is irrelevant. What is relevant is the control that God has put around marriage, and says, for your safety and your well-being and your overall success, you can only have one.
Right.
And you need to navigate that oneness, that unity, together so that you can draw all of the fulfillment that I've given you. I've put enough fulfillment in marriage for you to be whole and healthy. You just need to tap into it. I think that, there's a lack of communication in marriage
Yeah.
as it relates to fantasy, as it relates to desires,
Yeah.
as it relates to everything that's going on in your head. Because even though they're your spouse, sometimes you hold back because even with your spouse, you don't want to let them know exactly how crazy you are. Exactly how off the rails you can be. Listen, I'm trying to help somebody out there that you may encounter your spouse is a lot more tame than you. And you're trying to make it work, but you haven't fully communicated
Right.
exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And you may not get 100%, but at least communicate it so it can come up 50%.
Right.
And maybe you live your
Absolutely.
life at 50% because you'll never get all of what you want.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
That's not
it's
life.
part of living a disciplined life.
Thank you.
We can't all get, or none of us can get all of what we want in life. Whether it's not even something physical, whether it's materialistically, no matter how much somebody achieves, people probably all still want more, but God stops you. He's like, you have to be disciplined, whether it's in your money, whether
Thank
it's in
you.
your intimacy, whether it's in your eating, he wants you to be disciplined. And so he's just not going to so it's like you can't eat everything you want to eat and then still be healthy if you're eating improperly. You just don't get everything you want because most people would want to eat whatever they want to eat and still be healthy. So you don't get to treat your marriage however you want to treat it and then it's still healthy. You just don't get everything you want. So you have to decide what is the most important thing, my desires being 100% met or the health of my mind, my marriage, my spirit, my walk with God. I think those other things are more important.
Absolutely. Marriage is about discipline. Your marriage is not a buffet.
No. I don't even like buffets.
I don't like them either.
And buffets actually make you sick. Ask me how I know. That's why I don't go to them. Buffets are not clean. So if you treat your marriage as a buffet, that's why your marriage is sick. Because you're treating it like a buffet.
You can't have everything you want to have in marriage. Your marriage is a fine dining restaurant.
Exactly.
Whatever restaurant you have curated according to your palate, that's your marriage. It's not a buffet.
Right.
You can't have a wide range
You're right.
and expect to be healthy.
Exactly.
And expect, because the thing is that even people that go to buffets, it's amazing how that satisfaction is fleeting.
Right.
You've just eaten from a wide variety, wide range of foods, but then in 2 hours you're hungry again.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that if you go to a buffet every single day, you're still hungry.
Exactly.
It's never really fulfilled.
And you'll never be fully satisfied. So if you do go to a buffet every day, you'll find that it gets old.
And the price is low.
Right.
The price is a lot lower for a buffet
Than a fine dining restaurant.
So do you want your marriage to be low class, to be average, to be you
Money
want
can't buy you class.
Here we go with the
Remember that
songs.
song?
Here we go with the songs.
Remember that song?
Here we go with the songs. This is what I have to live with.
That song was crazy. Okay.
That was early in our marriage.
Yeah.
When we used to watch those shows. That was fun. So I think to put a bow on it, there's so many other things I wanted to say. And I think let me just say this part too, because I kind of hit on it. But we saw a couple case studies. They picked out a few couples who went through this website and all that.
Right.
And I just think that people have, like, what is it about, why do people feel like marriage isn't fulfilling. I almost feel like sometimes people don't get the fulfillment and the satisfaction out of their marriage that they should,
Yeah.
and it is pushing them towards looking over the fence, feeling like they've missed out on something, that it could be better. Instead of cultivating their own garden, they're out there saying, you know what, I wonder if I just plowed in another man's field, or if I just
Yeah.
built another garden, it would be better. I don't know if there's enough contentment, if people are drawing enough contentment out of it. I don't know if they're putting in enough work so
Yeah.
that it can meet all of what they hope and dream it to be. I'm a little concerned about marriage and how people, like, the millions of accounts that were created through Ashley Madison.
Yeah.
It's telling, and you can't deny it. So we don't want to say like, oh, marriages are strong and marriages are great. I think it's showing that there is a critical crack in our society as it relates to marriage, and people
Yeah.
will absolutely go somewhere else instead of fighting for their marriage, cultivating their marriage, pouring into their marriage, and allowing their spouse to give them. I wonder if there's this inherent selfish nature there that says, you know what, I'm not going to put the work in. I'm just going to go out here and be selfish.
Yeah, I think it can be a couple of things. I think inherent selfish nature is definitely one of the possibilities. And I think some people go into the wrong idea
Right?
of marriage. I think some people start marriage always thinking in their back of their head, but if it doesn't feel right, look right, sound right, I can always just get out.
Yeah.
And I think when you go into marriage with that mindset, you'll find yourself filing for divorce when it's not even biblically warranted or necessary.
Yeah.
So I think going into it with the wrong mindset is also part of the problem. And I guess it still goes back to that inherent selfish nature, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't go exactly the way I thought it should go, or if it doesn't go exactly the way I want it to go, even if it's just for a season, I'm gonna just head out. Like, that's what our generation unfortunately is taught. People change jobs more than ever, where they live, cities more than ever, churches. I mean, people just are not as stable in every other area of their life the way they were, I think, even when our parents' generation was coming up and cultivating marriages.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a big factor. And I think the church has just allowed too much of the world to influence their thought process.
Yeah.
So it's one thing if the world says, well, if I don't like this, I'll just get out, because they can't be expected to be held to godly principles until and unless they get saved. But once you become saved, you're going to have a really tough time trying to accommodate your marriage to society's norms when we live under a theocracy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. So we just wanted to share a few thoughts about this whole Ashley Madison thing. And, you know, we want your marriage to be healthy, and just communicate, just talk, and trust your marriage, right? Trust your marriage, that if you say what's going on, if you're not afraid to deal with some of your struggles, that the marriage is strong enough to walk through that season, walk through that storm. So it's an interesting documentary. We encourage you to watch it, if you're at a place where you could watch it and feel like it's okay for you and your marriage.
Right.
We definitely appreciated the content we received from it, because it helps us understand a little bit more about how people view marriage, and we just want to do everything we can to empower marriages and make them better. So this has been another episode of Breakfast with Mark and Jen. We will catch you next time. Until then, peace out.